Hey guys, we're going to do a pretty short video. I've just been asked a few times why the pros don't usually play Gazlowe, and I had to search a little bit to find a game where the pros actually played Gazlowe, where they weren't just trolling. And in this case, I mean, they've got a regular team combo other than the Gazlowe, so it should show you a general idea. The point of this series, when I say that the pros don't play someone, it doesn't mean that they never play that person. It's more that you probably won't see them in 99% of the games, probably even more than that. And Gazlowe's kind of a special interest of that, because while generally the main reason why the pros don't play him is that he works really well in uncoordinated compositions, where you can hold a point, you can place a bunch of turrets, and you can whittle down people who are not confident in just pushing in and killing the turrets. People that they don't know if their team's going to follow up with them, so they're too afraid to go in, so he ends up just getting a ton of value out of the turrets. Unfortunately, in pro play, what happens is he places down turrets, and they get destroyed very, very quickly. Even if you have some of the best placements for your turrets, it doesn't really matter. One of the benefits, though, of Gazlowe that a lot of the pros haven't been utilizing in quite a few years is the fact that he does have a pretty decent wombo combo by himself. By throwing out a stun, using a Gravo Bomb, and then another stun, you can keep people stunned in a specific area for usually over 3 seconds. So, generally, that's really what you want to focus on with Gazlowe, is that wombo combo. But how do you get value out of him outside of that combo? While that's really good, and that could certainly lead to a lot of kills in a pro game, how do you get anything else out of it? Well, Gazlowe can do camps well, but not as well as someone like Sonya or Malthael. Gazlowe can do wave clear well, but not as well as someone like a Sonya or a Malthael. The main thing that he has going for him over Sonya and Malthael is the fact that he has a large amount of CC, pull-ins, everything like that. In general, though, he's kind of an interesting hero, and we're going to fast forward a little bit. I'm going to show you guys a little bit on why a lot of people ask me why Gazlowe isn't played, especially on like a map like this, purely because they think that someone who can drop down a bunch of turrets would be great at defending something, and it works really well. I mean, in a variety of ranks, too. I mean, we've seen someone like Logan, for instance, who has done really, really well with Gazlowe in maps like this, in other maps where he can just split push the entire game. And in this case, we're going to hired goons, so we can buff up the mercs, and so he'll probably just split push instead of even going on the objective at all. But I wanted to show you guys kind of what happens if he does place turrets on the objective, on how it doesn't really do as much as you would expect them to do. And that's why he's probably just going to split push most of the game, because in general, it's not going to be as valuable as you might think it might be. One of the things that I actually like that has been done before, and it's something that I've seen Glogan do, is sorry, not Glogan, but what's his name? The Turk ran this once where he ran the buffed minions, and he would hide in a bush and just buff up the minions, so if they weren't paying attention to him, they didn't realize that they were buffed up and they were pushing much further. Because see, the first thing is they don't try to push. They didn't have time to set up, so they're not going to try to push into a hammer. They're going to focus mainly on getting value out of the camp. And now they're going to try to sit on this for even a little bit. And this is kind of what I wanted to show you guys. So he places a turret there. Seems like it's going to get a decent amount of value. He can stay in the area of it really for quite a while. He places another turret. And while JPL is taking a lot of free damage from the turrets, you can see it's barely even tickling the Joanna at the moment. And as they take this back, the enemies simply walk away for a little bit. They don't need to commit into this. They could get full health, they could get heal cam, they could get whatever they want. And look at that. The first turret, right as Dignitas decides to walk in with confidence, it's very easy for Dignitas to deal with all of these turrets without really any sort of concern whatsoever. They get up to the next turret, and it is pretty much gone. Both of the turrets blew up very, very quickly, and all it took was a team to walk up with confidence, and there was nothing that the Gazlowe was able to do about it. And that's really the major reason, is one of his main abilities gets no value in pro games whatsoever. So then you have to utilize his other abilities and hope that those get a lot of value. And his other abilities is a delayed stun, which isn't even really fast enough for a follow-up. It's more like he has to stun, and then his team has to follow up his stun in order for his stun to actually go off. He has to throw out his stun and then have another stun land on it and then have his stun go off just to make that work. And it's very hard to get that to work, and one single cleanse ruins the entire thing. In this case, we're seeing a Stukov, so we're not going to be seeing that stun. Or we're not going to see a cleanse anyways. We might still see the stun. And all of his abilities are just so slow that it reminds me a lot of like Lunara, where Lunara is a powerful hero, but a lot of the times Lunara doesn't get too much value. This is actually one of the things that I loved about running this particular hero in Hero League on this map, is buffing up the turrets using the benefits. So you can place your turrets and you can place the turrets here. Buff up the turrets with Merklord, and the turrets gain a lot more value, and they are a lot scarier because they're doing 50% more damage. So there are benefits to him as well, and just because the pros don't play him doesn't mean that you shouldn't play him. And I don't want to encourage a bunch of people to play Gazlowe and have everyone go, but NotParadox, we're sick of seeing Gazlowe in our games. But at the same time, when you see a Gazlowe, don't immediately think it's a loss, especially if it's a map that you have to stall an objective. Because on maps that he has to stall objectives, against teams that aren't really moving in with confidence or moving out with confidence, which is pretty much everyone in Hero League, and a lot of people in Team League, generally, Gazlowe's not terrible. And we've seen people like Glogan who have taken Gazlowe all the way up to Grandmaster 20. And it's definitely possible. But, I mean, you could one-trick almost anyone to Grandmaster. So, again, I'm not trying to get everyone to play Gazlowe, but I am saying that he works really well against uncoordinated teams, and he's pretty decent on maps that you have to fight under an objective. The pros don't play him because against a coordinated team with confidence, he pretty much is just useless. He drops down turrets that get blown up instantly, and all the rest of his abilities have too long of a delay. He never gets any value. We're going to fast forward to level 10 to see if they do end up going for a Gravo Bomb combo, and how they decide to combo it with their other abilities. So we don't see a Gravo Bomb, we see a Robo Goblin, so that is pretty sad, and we see a Bunker instead of a Combustion, and we don't see, yeah. I would have liked to see a Gravo Bomb Planet Cracker, because again, like once he gets his double stun, which I think is 13? No, it's at 16. So yeah, you don't get the full combo. You can get it still in initial stun because you throw out your E, you throw out a Gravo Bomb, you pull them in, they get stunned for 1.75 seconds. But if you did it perfectly, you could toss out an E, a Gravo, an E, and then you can have a Planet Cracker melt through everyone that entire time. So there are a lot of benefits to it, and in general, it's something that it's a cool combo, and I would recommend it maybe in like Team League where you've got a group that knows what's going on. Otherwise, Robo Goblin is looks like that's his go-to. Another thing that I've been talking with a few people about is the possibility of making Gazlowe into a more tanky person. And this is actually something that's been talked about a lot because, as a lot of people know, and if you don't know already, Blizzard is looking at the specialist role in general, and they're trying to put the specialists into other roles. Not necessarily changing too much about them, but more of just putting them where they kind of belong. For example, Medivh is currently considered a specialist, but in reality, he's just a non-healer support, like a Tassadar. So they want to classify him more like that. And some of the heroes are harder to classify, the split pushers, for example, but Zul is being used more as a tank, and he's probably going to be classified more as a bruiser. In the same sense, Gazlowe might be classified as a bruiser as well. So what do I personally think that they would need to do with Gazlowe to make him competitive? Well, the first thing that I always like to say in this type of video is that not everyone needs to be competitive. Not every map needs to be played by pros. It's okay to just have fun, silly maps, and it's okay to have fun, silly heroes. So I don't think it's necessary to make him pro, but what would I do to make Gazlowe be able to be used in professional play? I think in general what he needs is as a bruiser who normally goes in the solo lane, what they normally need is some form of self-healing. They need a decent amount of wave clear, and they need to have something in team fights that really gives them something. That's kind of the same reason why we don't see a lot of Rexars, because in general in team fights he doesn't bring a lot. So All of Gazlowe's abilities are heavily delayed, which makes it to where they're easy to dodge, and I think it would be interesting if they gave him a talent that made it to where his Explodium charge could pop immediately as it lands, or as immediately as it hits someone, possibly making it to where he has 3 options. He has one option that makes it to where he can place down a mine that has a longer charge time. Because as we know that the placing of the bomb, it lasts 2.5 seconds before it blows up. Maybe we give him a mine as one of his talents. Let's say we moved all of his level 7 talents to other levels. And one of it made it to where his E was a mine. He places it down. It takes 5 seconds to charge, but then it stuns for the same amount of time whenever people walk over it. The next option is giving him a sticky grenade or something that you toss out and it guarantees a stun, but the stun duration is dropped by 1 whole second, so it goes down to a 0.75 second. This allows him to either have the zoning capabilities for his team or gives him the capability of being a follow-up stunner or a setup for his team. And the last talent can make it to where he gets 2 charges of his Explodium, but they're the same as they currently are right now, where they still have that delay and they still stun later. I think ultimately that's the major issue that I find with Gazlowe, is that when he's in team fights, all of his stuff is dodgeable and he really brings nothing of value in these team fights. The other option that is kind of the more disliked option from the pros that has been brought up a couple times is making it to where his turrets are permanent, but you can only have so many turrets out. So you become kind of like a global, like a Ragnaros, who can just lava wave something. You could just leave your turrets in another lane. You can keep soaking from that lane, and you can still join your team for team fights. It's an option, but it's nothing that's really... I don't think it's anything that's going to majorly bring him back into the game. I think it's just kind of an interesting option, and it might even create more problems because we're trying to get away from the specialists who are forcing the teams to just constantly split push. We're trying to get more to specialists that join the team. They have their unique play style like a specialist, but they join their team in a variety of other ways. We see that in this case he did go for a larger bomb, and he's still trying to use his bomb for a zoning tool, and it's just not really working, but we may see the double picked up either way. I really wish we would have seen a Gravo bomb into a Planet Cracker, into a Combustion, into other stuff, but we'll see how this game goes. There's still another 3 minutes in this. They did already lose a keep, and we do see him holding a turret, and I would love to see this as a pocket strat in Pro where they do get more bombs out, or sorry, they farm more turrets and they buff up the turrets, because you can see the extra damage that turret's doing. Almost 70 damage a hit, a couple times a second, is really powerful. But in general, the enemies can just walk away from this setup, which is why it's just not great outside of like when he's on a specific objective. We see them kind of hop in there, and that should lead to their deaths. I'm going to fast forward until level 16 and see what is picked up at level 16. Probably the double charge, I'd imagine, but we'll see. We do see the second charge. So he tosses the first charge onto him, second charge onto the enemies, a nice stun into the Planet Cracker. Now imagine if that was a Gravo bomb. Pull, or grenade, pull, grenade, and they would just be stunned there for over 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds, while the Planet Cracker melts them down. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is it purely that the enemies, is that too predictable? I don't really know. But in general, that is why Gazlowe isn't really played by the pros outside of a few games, yet that is why he's still dominating in Hero League, is because it really comes down to confidence, and it comes down to how well people are at, or how good people are at getting away from his slow abilities. So when you see a Gazlowe on your team, don't immediately call him a noob and tell him to pick something else, but at the same time, understand where his role actually fits. He dominates against very uncoordinated teams, and he's very good on maps that have defense points. As well as Glogan was picking him into just about any map that was large that he could split push. So he does have his purposes, but until they change the few things that I've mentioned about his slow abilities, as well as his pretty much useless turrets, he won't be played in pro play at a consistent rate. Thank you all for watching, and you can pretty much predict the end of this game as it's going to end in the next 30 seconds. So feel free to check out any of my other videos. I've got videos on why the pros play things, why the pros don't play things, as well as a variety of beginners and intermediate strategy guides for just about anyone who's going to be playing this game. Thank you all, and once again, I do always appreciate subscribers.